Part 1. The hidden layers of reality. What if everything you see, hear, or touch is not the whole story, but only a small piece of something infinitely greater? Think about that for a moment. What if the life you're living, every memory, every thought, every passing second, is just a single page torn from an endless, unknowable book? You can read that one page, yes. You can study its details, savor its moments. But the rest of the story, the chapters that came before and the ones still to unfold, are hidden from view, tucked away in layers you've never even imagined. This idea isn't science fiction. It's not the stuff of dreams. It's a profound possibility grounded in both ancient wisdom and modern science. The world we call real, the reality we wake up to each day, might only be a shadow, just a three-dimensional projection of something far more complex, far more beautiful, far more mysterious than we've ever allowed ourselves to believe. We as human beings are built to perceive three dimensions: length, width, and depth. We walk in straight lines, stack objects, and build cities using these principles. Everything we create, everything we experience is rooted in this trio of dimensions. But what if that's only the surface? What if, beneath this familiar world, time doesn't flow in a straight line but bends, curls, and loops like a river with no fixed direction? What if space itself isn't rigid and flat, but folds in on itself, wrapping around in ways our senses can't detect? This isn't just poetic speculation. Ancient mystics and sages once whispered of realms beyond the visible, of energies that dance behind the curtain of the world. They spoke in symbols and metaphors, but the essence was clear. Reality is deeper than it seems. And now, in the quiet hum of laboratories and the dense pages of physics journals, scientists are starting to say the same. The equations of string theory, the fabric of space-time, the idea of multiple dimensions, they all suggest that what we see is only a fraction of what truly exists. Picture an ant walking along a sheet of paper. For the ant, the paper is its entire universe. It knows only two directions, forward and backward, left and right. It cannot even begin to grasp the idea of up. It has no concept of a third dimension. Now imagine you standing above that paper. You see the ant, the entire paper, and the space around it. You exist in a realm the ant cannot fathom. Could we be like that ant? And our entire universe, stars, galaxies, planets, even the fabric of time itself, be a two-dimensional surface, curled into some grand, multi-dimensional shape that we simply cannot perceive? Could there be realities above us, in the same way that you are above the paper? And what if gravity, that mysterious force we still don't fully understand, isn't just pulling objects toward one another? What if it's something more, a ripple or a curvature in a higher dimensional space, gently nudging us toward truths our minds aren't yet ready to grasp? Even black holes, those cosmic monsters that swallow everything in their path, what if they're not endings but doorways? What if, instead of being the final stop, they are transformations, portals leading to other dimensions, or even other universes entirely? It sounds impossible, but is it, as we peer deeper into space and explore the teeniest particles in our quantum experiments? The lines between science and philosophy begin to blur. We begin to see that reality may be far stranger and far more magical than we've ever been taught. Maybe we are living in a shadow world. Maybe what we call reality is the faint echo of something greater, like music played from another room. We can hear it faintly. We feel the rhythm. We dance to it. But the source, the true sound, it remains just out of reach. Yet somehow we sense it's there. And perhaps that's the purpose of this journey, not to explain everything, but to awaken a sense of wonder, to remind ourselves that even in our most certain moments there is always more to discover, that hidden just beneath the surface of what we know is a universe of infinite layers, waiting to be felt, explored, and remembered. So the next time you look at the stars, or listen to the sound of rain, or watch a child laugh, pause for a moment, ask yourself, what am I not seeing? What is beyond this moment, this space, this thought? Because maybe, just maybe, you're standing on the edge of something vast, something extraordinary, something real, not despite its mystery, but because of it. Art, science, philosophy, and the fourth wall of perception. This isn't just a poetic idea meant to stir the soul or ignite the imagination. The science, the hard, empirical, mathematical science, is starting to whisper the same truth. For centuries, imagination danced far ahead of equations, but now slowly, carefully, mathematics is beginning to catch up. Ideas that once belonged solely to dreamers, philosophers, and mystics are appearing in physics journals, chalked onto blackboards in the most prestigious universities on Earth. Consider string theory. At its core lies the idea that everything in the universe, from galaxies and planets down to the smallest particles, is made not of point, like atoms, but of tiny vibrating strings of energy. These strings vibrate at specific frequencies, much like the strings of a violin, and their resonances give birth to everything we know: matter, force, light, gravity. But here's the twist. For the equations to work, for the math to make sense, these strings must vibrate in a space of more than just 3 dimensions. Some versions of the theory require 10 dimensions, others suggest 11. Where are they? Why don't we see them? One possible answer is that these extra dimensions are curled up so tightly and intricately that they are smaller than atoms, smaller even than quarks. They're not gone, they're just hidden, folded into the very structure of reality, invisible to our instruments and incomprehensible to our senses. And then there's the holographic principle, a mind-bending idea that suggests our entire 3-dimensional universe might be a projection from a 2-dimensional surface, like a hologram. You see depth, shape, movement, but it's all encoded on a flat surface. The reality you experience might just be a shadow cast from a more fundamental layer of existence. Think about that. You are a moving, thinking, breathing projection, a ripple of information woven into the fabric of something greater. This may sound fantastical, but it is rooted in the work of some of the brightest minds. In modern physics, the holographic principle emerged from the study of black holes, where paradoxes about information loss led to a radical rethinking of space and time. It's not just speculation, it's backed by rigorous calculations. Even in the 1800s, mathematician Bernhard Riemann dared to map out the unimaginable. He developed the geometry that would one day form the foundation of Einstein's theory of general relativity. But Riemann didn't stop at 3 or even 4 dimensions. He proposed spaces with infinite dimensions, mathematical landscapes that have no physical equivalent in our everyday world, yet shape the very physics that governs it. And yet, despite all this elegant mathematics, our human brains struggle to comprehend. We evolved not to understand higher dimensional geometry, but to survive, to spot patterns in leaves, to recognize danger in the movement of shadows, to find fruit, to run from lions. Try this, close your eyes and imagine a cube. Simple, right? Now imagine a cube within a cube, still doable. Now imagine a 4-dimensional cube, a tesseract. It breaks the mind. It's like asking a fish to describe fire. We are built to move through 3 dimensions. Anything beyond that feels like myth, like metaphor. But geometry has always been our window into the unknown, from the Pythagorean mysteries to the perfect alignment of the pyramids, from Galileo, us orbits, To Newton's curves, humans have used shapes to explain what they could not yet touch. Today, physicists extend that legacy, using multidimensional mathematics as the bridge to new frontiers. Some of these theories propose not just 4, 5, or 6 dimensions, but 10, 11, and even more. Are these dimensions real? If so, why can't we see them? The answer may be scale. These hidden dimensions could be so small, so tightly compacted, that they are beyond the reach of any microscope or particle accelerator. They may be as foundational to our world as bones are to the body, hidden beneath everything, supporting and shaping all that is visible. And the implications, they are staggering. If gravity is leaking from another dimension, seeping down into our world like light through a curtain, then we are not isolated. We are being touched, influenced, shaped by something greater, something beyond. If black holes are not ends but wounds in space, tears through which energy escapes, then what lies on the other side? Could they be bridges, gateways, portals into other realms? And if the universe itself is humming with vibrations not just from stars and galaxies, but from dimensions we've never touched, then perhaps everything we see is merely the surface, the echo, the skin. Perhaps there is a deeper music, a grander rhythm, playing in frequencies we can't yet hear. The fourth wall of perception isn't a screen or a veil, it's a limitation. A boundary drawn by evolution, shaped by survival, but every so often we glimpse beyond it, through math, through art, through intuition, through awe, and those glimpses matter, because they remind us that reality is not closed, not fixed, not final. It is unfolding, expanding, revealing itself, layer by breathtaking layer. Maybe we were never meant to understand it all. Maybe the gift is in the pursuit, the wonder, the questions that keep us searching, and the strange, beautiful truth that the more we learn, the more there is to discover. Part 3, Clues from the Universe. Einstein once reshaped our understanding of the cosmos. With the theory of relativity, he gave us a brilliant map of how space and time are not separate, but woven together, stretching, bending, and dancing with mass and motion. He showed us that time is not fixed, and space is not passive. They are alive, reactive, fluid. Yet even Einstein admitted his theory was incomplete. I can see only part of the picture, he confessed. The universe, in all its complexity, refused to be fully captured in even the most elegant equations. And as physicists pushed deeper into that mystery, a strange thing happened. The mathematics began to ask for more than 3 dimensions, more than 4, perhaps 10, perhaps 11. Perhaps dimensions beyond even that. Could it be that the Big Bang, the beginning of everything we know, was not just an explosion of matter and energy, but a ripple, a tremor in a higher dimensional space? A stone dropped into the waters of a larger reality, sending waves into our limited perception, creating the illusion of space expanding. This isn't just poetic speculation. It's grounded in the strange demands of our most advanced theories, and while we have not yet proved these extra dimensions, we are beginning to look for their fingerprints, faint smudges left on the canvas of our universe. Enter the Large Hadron Collider, the most powerful machine ever built by humankind. Beneath the ground, protons are hurled at nearly the speed of light, crashing into each other in violent microscopic collisions. We are not doing this for spectacle. We are hunting for something subtle, a flicker, a glitch, a sign that a particle, in the moment of impact, has disappeared, not destroyed, but shifted, slipped quietly into another dimension. So far, we haven't found it, but absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. Not. We once believed the universe ended with the stars we could see. Galileo, when he lifted his telescope to the sky, had no idea that Galaxies, millions of them, waited just beyond the reach of his lens. They were there all along. We just didn't have the tools. And maybe, just maybe, the tools we need are already whispering. The universe is speaking in riddles, and sometimes those riddles take the form of sound. When black holes merge two massive bodies spiraling inward until they collide, the event is cataclysmic. These are titanic clashes, send gravitational waves rippling through the very fabric of space-time. These waves were only recently detected, their presence long predicted by Einstein, but never directly observed until now. But here's where it gets interesting. Sometimes after the main gravitational wave passes, something else follows, an echo. A faint, delayed wave, a whisper that doesn't quite fit the models. It's as if the universe is humming with a tune we can almost, but not quite, hear. Could these echoes be more than just noise? Could they be evidence of vibrations leaking from other dimensions, like the sound of music bleeding through a wall? You can't see the room, you don't know the instrument, but something is playing, something is there. These anomalies, barely perceptible, often ignored, may be the universe's way of nudging us, of pointing beyond. They are not definitive proof, but they are breadcrumbs. Clues left behind in the cosmic dust, even in the structure of the universe itself. We find mysteries that defy easy explanation. Why is the distribution of galaxies so precise, like a vast web stretching across the cosmos? Why do quantum particles behave differently when observed, as if awareness itself plays a role in reality? So, perhaps our universe is not a closed box, but an open membrane, a surface floating in a sea of higher dimensional forces, and every so often that membrane quivers, it trembles, and in those tremors we catch a glimpse of something more. It is tempting to dismiss these ideas as fantasy, to stay with what is measurable, what is certain, but science has always begun with wonder, with questions that seem absurd until they aren't. There was a time when people thought the Earth was the center of everything, a time when flight was impossible, a time when atoms were unthinkable. Reality has always been stranger than we expected, and now we stand once again on the edge of something vast, something unexplained, something waiting. We don't yet have the tools to measure every dimension. We don't yet understand what these echoes mean, but we are listening, and that matters, because the universe doesn't speak in certainties. It speaks in signals, in clues, in the gentle invitation to explore what lies beyond the known. Perhaps the fourth wall is beginning to crack. Perhaps just beyond our reach, a greater reality is waiting, and perhaps, when we are ready, we will step through not into darkness, but into a deeper light. Part 4, Consciousness and the Dimensional Self. Let's go deeper. Quantum mechanics, that strange and beautiful science at the heart of reality, tells us something profoundly unsettling. Particles can exist in many states at once until they are observed. Before we look, they're a wave of possibilities, but the moment we observe, they choose, they settle, they collapse into one reality. But why? What makes the universe behave one way when watched and another when left alone? It raises a question most of us never dare to ask. What is observation really? And more intriguingly, what if observation isn't just something we do to the universe, but something the universe does through us? This mysterious collapse of possibility means that alternate versions of events, every fork in every road, still exist, unfolding in dimensions just beyond our reach. Could every choice you didn't make, every yes you turned into a no, every what if that haunts your memory, still be playing out somewhere? Not as fantasy, but as fact. Some scientists and philosophers have begun to suggest that these alternate paths might not just be hypothetical, they may be real, existing in higher dimensional branches of reality. In this view, your life isn't a single line, but a vast, branching tree. You are one version of yourself walking one limb of that tree, while countless other versions walk the others. And then there is consciousness. For centuries, we assumed consciousness lived in the brain, a byproduct of biology, a trick of neurons. But more and more thinkers are beginning to wonder, what if consciousness isn't trapped in the brain at all? What if it's something larger? What if your awareness is like a signal not confined to the radio, but transmitted, received, and echoed far beyond the physical shell? Consider déjà vu, that strange moment when everything feels oddly familiar, or dreams that feel more real than waking life, or spiritual experiences that defy logic but carry deep emotional weight. What if these are not glitches, but glimpses, fleeting moments when your consciousness brushes up against another dimension, another version of reality, another you? Will your soul be a multi-dimensional traveler? Could your thoughts be ripples not just in your mind, but in a vast ocean of interconnected realities? We've long believed that each of us is a separate being, alone, isolated, distinct, but modern physics is quietly dismantling that illusion at the quantum level. Particles don't to act like individuals, they act like twins. Even when separated by vast distances, they remain entangled. Change one, and the other changes instantly, as if space and time no longer matter. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. But today, we call it entanglement. What if this isn't just true of particles? What if everything, stars, souls, thoughts, is woven together in a tapestry too fine for us to see? What if we are all part of a single, interconnected field of awareness, dancing through dimensions we cannot yet perceive? In this view, the universe isn't empty, it's alive, a web of energy. A symphony of unseen harmonies, a living organism where you are not just a drop in the ocean, but the ocean in a drop. Your consciousness may not be local. It may not be linear. It may not even be limited to you. You might be a node in a vast network of being, a point of awareness in a universe dreaming of itself. And that changes everything. It means your intuition, your compassion, your sense of connection. They might not be illusions. They might be data, evidence of a deeper reality, felt more than seen. Perhaps love is not just an emotion, but a force, like gravity, pulling souls together across dimensions. Perhaps memory is not just a record of the past, but a bridge to parallel timelines. Perhaps when you close your eyes and feel something you can't explain, it's because a higher part of you is remembering something from another realm, another life, another choice. The more we learn about the quantum world, the more we are humbled by what we don't know, and consciousness, this quiet presence behind your eyes, might be the key to all of it. Not just a side effect of the brain, but the very foundation of reality itself. We often think of dimensions as places, higher levels we might climb to, but what if they are not places at all? What if they are perspectives, ways of seeing, ways of knowing, ways of being? You might already be multi-dimensional. You might already exist beyond space and time, and every dream, every intuition, every deep knowing within you might be a message from the rest of you, from the parts of yourself that live in realms you've forgotten how to visit, but still remember how to feel. So look inward. Listen carefully. There is a silence in you that speaks louder than sound, a stillness that echoes across dimensions, and maybe, just maybe, that stillness is the doorway. The universe isn't just around you, it's within you, and the next great discovery might not be made in a lab, but in your own soul. Part 5: Art, Imagination, and the Dimensional Future. Long before equations, before particle accelerators or quantum experiments, there were brushes on cave walls, stories around fires, and visions that came in dreams. Artists, poets, mystics, they reached for truths that words couldn't hold. not because they lacked science, but because they sensed something science had not yet caught up to. Throughout history, the imagination has been our antenna, sensitive, untamed, reaching into realms beyond logic. Salvador Dali painted crucifixes twisted like tesseracts, four-dimensional shapes made visible in pigment. Long before physicists spoke of wormholes, writers imagined tunnels through space and time. Before dark matter had a name, shamans spoke of invisible forces shaping our lives. These weren't mere fantasies from the Dogon people of Mali, who described invisible stars centuries before telescopes confirmed them, to Aboriginal Australians who spoke of the Dreamtime, a layered world of past, present and spirit. These ancient voices may not have spoken in scientific terms, but their insights echo with a haunting familiarity. Could it be that art has always seen further than we realized? Mythology, music and symbol carry fragments of a cosmic language, one that science is only now beginning to translate. And what about the future? Let's imagine a species far more advanced than us, not in tools or technology, but in dimensional awareness. What if they don't live in 3 dimensions like we do, or even 4? What if their perception unfolds across 5, 6, or 11 dimensions? What would their world look like? To them, our reality might seem flat, crude, like a sketch compared to a sculpture, a flickering shadow compared to full sunlight. They wouldn't need to cross galaxies, they'd fold them like fabric. Their vessels wouldn't travel through space, they would step sideways through it, like moving through rooms in a house. And when they speak, their messages wouldn't ride radio waves, they would ripple through the structure of existence itself, like whispers in the fabric of the universe. They wouldn't send beams of light, they'd shift the resonance of space, messages not seen but felt. Maybe that's why we haven't found them, not because they're hiding, but because we're looking the wrong way. Searching with eyes tuned to 3 dimensions, ears that only hear one frequency, minds bound to time like a train on a track. But what if reality has more tracks, more layers, more music? Modern science is beginning to suggest as much. In the heart of CERN, the Large Hadron Collider probes for particles that vanish, particles that may slip sideways into hidden dimensions. LIGO, the Gravitational Wave Observatory, hears echoes in space, time that don't quite fit our models, like footsteps in a room we didn't know existed. And in string theory, the Calabi-Yau manifolds, those intricate, folded shapes hidden in higher dimensions, describe a reality far richer than the one we see. These aren't science fiction, they're science fact, mathematical structures that describe how the universe might really work. And all of them hint at the same staggering possibility, that what we call reality may be a projection, a shadow on the wall of a deeper, more complex space, that we are watching a play, without yet knowing the stage. But if this is true, then the future of exploration changes forever. Because the next frontier may not be Mars, or interstellar space, or even the edge of the known universe. The next frontier might be within, inside the mind, inside consciousness, inside the folds of perception we've barely begun to unfold. What if the true voyage of discovery is into the nature of reality itself, not through spaceships, but through awareness, not with telescopes, but with expanded vision? Not by chasing light across the galaxy, but by turning inward into the dimensions of intuition, insight, and self. In that view, every artist is an explorer, every poet is a navigator, every dreamer is a pioneer of the unseen. The brushstroke becomes a telescope, the story becomes a spacecraft. The imagination becomes a portal, because perhaps we are not meant just to survive, perhaps we are meant to remember, to recall what we already know deep down, that we are more than flesh, more than thought, that within us is a mirror of the cosmos, folded, luminous, alive, and the most distant worlds. They may not be distant at all. They may be here vibrating behind the veil, waiting for us to open our eyes, not the ones in our heads, but the ones in our souls. So dream boldly, create fearlessly, wonder endlessly, because your imagination may be more than a spark. It may be a signal, a call from beyond the stars or from deep within, and one day when science and soul walk side by side again, we may finally understand that the universe was never out there. It was always here, layered, hidden, glorious, and waiting.